Hi, I'm Wes David, host of Fish in the Wild West TV, and proud to be working with Bass Pro Shops in Cabelas. Today we're going to talk about springtime walleye. Throughout my travels throughout North America, I get asked about walleye fishing during the spring months. It can often be some of the toughest, hardest times to fish during the year. So I have a few techniques that I've proven over the years that has worked for me to unlock the proverbial springtime walleye lockjaw. First, we're going to talk about short bites, or short strikes I call it. We've all gone through it regardless of the time of the year. We felt a walleye take our bait, we felt the fish, we felt the bite, we set the hook, and we come up with only half our bait. That has happened to everybody regardless of the time of the year. One way to hook into those short striking walleye, and I've landed 90% of my walleye. I've won tournaments just because of it, and that's using a simple stinger hook. These can be purchased at any Bass Pro Shops, Cabelas, a stinger hook, and it's for the short striking walleye. So what it is, it goes onto the eyelet of your jig. Some jigs come with a second eyelet, and all you do is you can take that bait, run it through. Now this can be whether you're fishing a soft plastic, maybe you're fishing a night crawler, or even frozen minnows. This works with any bait that you're planning on fishing. So you run it through just like you normally would. Then you take the stinger hook, which hangs down about another inch, inch and a half, into your bait. And now, when that walleye, 9 times out of 10, those walleye, just when you're about to pick it off the bottom, they'll grab it and they set the hook themselves. The key to the stinger hook is one barb or one prong in and 2 facing up. Because as they come, they'll grab it from the bottom and they'll literally set the hook themselves. I've caught, like I said, probably 90% of my walleye have been caught just on that stinger hook. If you want to catch more walleye this summer, spring or fall, and even through the ice, tie on a stinger hook. It's an incredible little invention that'll land a lot more fish. Next I go from there. I like a lot of, in the spring of the year, walleye have just gone through 5-6 months under the ice, low oxygen levels, low light conditions. Then they've gone through the stresses of the spawn. So their energy level is at the lowest. So when I springtime jig, it's vertical jigging, and I often call it open water ice fishing. So I just set it down, I'll put my jig on the bottom, it'll sit on the bottom, and I'll pick it up just off the bottom, and lots of times I'll just leave it sit there and let the current just kind of move it. Walleye will come up and they'll nose at it. They won't take it till they're ready. The key to this is having a tight line, because when walleye come up and how they take a bait is they actually vacuum in water, the excess water passes out through their gills, and now they have your bait in their mouth. If you have slack line, you never ever feel that bite. I've had perch take my bait harder than springtime walleye. A lot of times in the spring with walleye when I'm vertical jigging, I'll just see my line swim sideways, set the hook. But when I want a little more flash and vibration, I'll use a buzz bomb. So here I have a buzz bomb. This is a 1 inch. In the spring of the year, I often always downsize my baits. I'll go smaller and slower. The buzz bomb though, when you're jigging it a little bit, it'll actually spin on there. And what it's doing is, yes, it's creating flash and vibration. So it's calling walleye in from all over within the area of the water column. You're creating that flash and vibration. Whenever I pull up on a spot, regardless of the time of the year, even ice fishing, the first thing I do, I put 6 to 10 jigs. I just rip it hard. I'm ripping it really hard, and I make sure either my buzz bomb, my jig, whatever I'm bouncing or whatever I'm jigging, smashes off the bottom. One, I call it calling in the walleye. They feel that vibration, they see that flash, and they move in close. But by smashing your lure off the bottom hard, you're also stirring up soot and creating vibration. If you've ever seen a minnow dying in the water, they don't just swim along and tip over and die. They're erratic action. They're up, down, they smash into the bottom, they stir that soot up, and it's a natural thing to the walleye. When they see soot or vibration of a minnow dying, they come over and they're looking at it to see if it's something they can eat. And that's what I do, the exact same thing with my jigs. So whenever I set up the jig, regardless of the time of year, I smash it off the bottom half a dozen times, 10 times, and then I'll sit there and I'll jig. Whether I pick it up, set it down slow, or maybe I'll snap jig it. But in the spring of the year, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna want it slow. Again, if you're gonna downsize your bait, I don't have one here, but like a paddle tail, I use a lot of the Walleye angler, the XPS Walleye angler. And here's a paddle tail. And that paddle tail's designed to give off vibration as you jig it or as you swim it through the water. So if you have to downsize your bait, don't cut the tail off. What I do is I'll cut the head of it off so that when I run my jig back in it, and now I have a downsized plastic, I run my jig back in it, but now I still have the paddle tail that's going to create vibration through the water, So don't ever cut off the paddle tail. That's the unique piece of this plastic bait. Don't cut it off. Cut the top end of your bait off. What I've been doing for the last year and a half is using Liquid Mayhem. It's a biodegradable bait. I can actually just open it up for the 2 seconds it takes, squeeze a little bait or a little paste on my baits, regardless if I'm fishing a crankbait, plastic bait, whatever I'm fishing. If I can tie into the fish's sense of smell, it's another attractant that I'm gonna have the opportunity to set the hook on that many more walleye. Now, as the season goes on and we get into, say, mid-June, I like to use steel shad. Again, I use the smaller size here. Here we got the 1/4 ounce. And again, it's tying into flash and vibration, which is attracting fish throughout the water column. And what you're really doing is you're looking for active fish. Fish are either in one of 3 feeding patterns: positive, negative, or neutral. You're trying to turn neutral fish to positive, and you're trying to catch the positive. A lot of flash and vibration will do that. Again, a number 6 Len Thompson lure in the spring of the year, jigged off the bottom, is another great bait. Len Thompson is known for, one of its most famous sizes is the number 2. Great for northern pike, but walleye like it too. And in the spring of the year, downsizing and slow is a number 6. This is a great bait for rainbow trout, but it works perfect in the spring of the year for walleye, for inactive walleye that are, kind of looking at your bait, and you jig it 4 or 5 times before they even think of looking at it. This is a great little bait. And I use a lot of solid colors, solid silvers, golds, brasses. I don't get too hung up on my colors. I really focus on the flash and vibration. Last, I like a medium fast action rod in the spring of the year. Nice sensitive tip. So again, you want a sensitive tip because many times I've just seen my line swim sideways. I haven't even seen the fish take it, just line swimming sideways. I set the hook. I prefer, with new modern lines, I prefer an 8 to 10 pound XPS braided line. It's a great line. Sensitive, no stretch, and also a lot of times when you're fishing walleye, northern pike could be in the area, so a little bit tougher line is a little more forgiving if a northern pike takes your bait. I'm Wes David, host of Fishing the Wild West TV, and I hope these tips help you land one more walleye this spring. If you see us on the water, please be sure to come over and say hi.
Living a dream, fishing the stream, fishing the streams, living a dream, fishing the streams, fishing the Wild West.